What if I told you that everything you know about how society, morality, and civilization shape your life might be wrong? What if, in all the order and structure that civilization has provided, you've lost the very essence of what it means to be truly human? What if the key to unlocking your true potential lies in embracing the raw, untamed instincts that modern society has conditioned you to suppress? Sounds controversial, right? Today, we're diving deep into the mind of one of history's most misunderstood philosophers, Friedrich Nietzsche, and exploring his powerful ideas about nature, civilization, and the path to greatness. In this video, we'll unravel his bold vision for humanity, one where the individual is not bound by society's constraints but instead rises above them to create their own values and redefine their existence. You've probably heard about Nietzsche's famous term, Übermensch, or the Overman. But what does it really mean? How can we apply this radical concept in today's world where we are constantly pressured to conform, follow the crowd, and play by the rules? This video is going to challenge your perspective on everything from success to freedom, from creativity to the very nature of existence. We'll discuss the delicate balance between nature and civilization, and why Nietzsche believes that without embracing our natural instincts, we risk becoming mere cogs in a societal machine living lives that are predictable, comfortable, and, well, mediocre. But don't worry, this isn't just a philosophical deep dive for the sake of intellectual curiosity. This is a call to action, a call to break free from the chains of conventionality, to transcend the limits imposed by modern civilization, and to live a life that is bold, authentic, and truly yours. Before we jump in, make sure you like this video if you're already feeling intrigued. Share it with friends who you think need to hear these ideas. And hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content that challenges the way we think about life. And if you want to support the channel and keep this thought-provoking content coming, don't forget to hit the super thanks button below. Your support means everything to us. Now, let's get started and dive into Nietzsche's profound philosophy, because understanding his views could be the first step towards unlocking the power within you to live a life that truly stands out. In the realm of philosophy, few thinkers have provoked as much thought, debate, and controversy as Friedrich Nietzsche. His ideas about the relationship between nature and civilization remain central to his critique of modern society, challenging not only traditional moral values but also the very structure of civilization itself. At the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy is the idea that human beings are fundamentally natural creatures, and that the systems of thought and societal norms developed by civilization have a stifling, limiting effect on our true, authentic selves. For Nietzsche, the tension between our innate instincts and the moral codes of civilization forms a battleground for the essence of human existence, creativity, and freedom. When we examine Nietzsche's critique of civilization, we must first understand his perspective on nature, what he saw as the raw, untamed force of life, full of vigor, creativity, and potential. Nietzsche argued that human beings are products of nature, and that our instincts, desires, and passions are intrinsic to who we are as individuals. These instincts are not only vital for survival but also for the flourishing of the individual. But over time, civilization, especially through religious institutions and moral codes, has attempted to suppress these natural instincts in favor of more civilized behavior, which Nietzsche saw as a form of self-suppression. The key to understanding Nietzsche's thought is his concept of the will to power, a fundamental drive within every living being to grow, overcome obstacles, and assert itself in the world. In Nietzsche's view, this drive is the essence of life itself. And it is only through the assertion of our will to power that we can transcend the limits imposed by civilization and become true creators of meaning in our lives. Yet, as Nietzsche pointed out, the structures of civilization, particularly religion and traditional morality, act as forces that seek to suppress this powerful, creative force. These systems promote values like meekness, self-sacrifice, and humility, which Nietzsche saw as life-denying and contrary to the natural drive for strength, creativity, and individual expression. One of Nietzsche's most famous critiques of civilization is his declaration that God is dead. While this is often misunderstood as an outright rejection of religion or a celebration of nihilism, what Nietzsche meant was that the traditional religious framework, particularly the Christian worldview, had lost its power over modern society. As the influence of religion waned, Nietzsche saw an opportunity for individuals to break free from the constraints of religious and moral dogma. But he also recognized a significant problem: in the absence of religious guidance, humanity had lost its sense of direction. Without a higher moral authority, people were left to confront the void of meaning and purpose. In this context, Nietzsche warned that the decline of religion could lead to a crisis of values, where individuals and societies no longer knew what they stood for. Nietzsche's analysis of civilization is not just a critique, it is a call to action. He believed that individuals must actively confront and overcome the limitations imposed by societal norms and expectations. The key to overcoming these limitations is to embrace the primal, natural instincts that civilization has tried to suppress. Nietzsche believed that true freedom could only be achieved by transcending the morality of the herd, those social conventions that prioritize conformity and obedience over individuality and strength. For Nietzsche, the path to greatness and authenticity lies in the embrace of one's instincts, desires, and will to power. This is not a call for lawlessness or unchecked violence, but rather a challenge to live authentically, to create one's own values, and to live a life of courage and strength. One of Nietzsche's most important contributions to the philosophy of nature and civilization is his concept of the Übermensch, or Overman, or Superman. The Übermensch is an individual who has transcended the limitations of conventional morality and social norms to become a fully realized, self-creating being. This person is not bound by the moral codes of society but instead creates their own values, living according to their own instincts and desires. The Ubermensch embodies the highest form of human potential, where nature and civilization come into balance, and the individual is free to express their creativity and power without being constrained by external forces. The Übermensch represents Nietzsche's ideal of a person who fully embraces their natural instincts and takes control of their own fate, regardless of societal expectations or traditional moral codes. To understand how Nietzsche's ideas can be applied to the modern world, we can look at contemporary examples of individuals who have challenged the norms of society and embraced their natural instincts. Take, for example, someone like Elon Musk. Musk is often hailed as a visionary entrepreneur who has revolutionized industries such as space travel, electric vehicles, and artificial intelligence. He is a prime example of an individual who has broken free from the constraints of traditional thinking and created new possibilities. Musk's success is not just a result of his intellect or technological innovation but also his willingness to embrace risk, challenge conventional wisdom, and follow his own instincts. Like Nietzsche's Übermensch, Musk has created his own values and has charted his own course in life, regardless of the opinions or expectations of others. Another example can be found in the world of art. Throughout history, artists have been at the forefront of challenging societal norms and embracing their natural instincts. One of the most famous examples is Pablo Picasso, whose work revolutionized the art world and defied conventional expectations. Picasso's Cubist movement was not just a radical departure from traditional artistic techniques. It was an expression of his will to power, an assertion of his individual creative vision. In embracing chaos and breaking free from the constraints of classical art, Picasso embodied Nietzsche's idea of the artist as someone who creates their own values and pushes the boundaries of what is possible. Nietzsche's critique of civilization and his call for the return to nature are deeply relevant to our modern world. In today's society, we often find ourselves caught between the demands of civilization and our natural instincts. Social media, consumer culture, and the pressures of modern life all contribute to a sense of alienation and disconnection from our true selves. We are often told how we should behave, what we should want, and what is considered acceptable. But Nietzsche's philosophy offers a radical alternative, a life lived according to one's own instincts and desires, free from the constraints of social norms and conventional morality. To live in accordance with Nietzsche's vision is not an easy task. It requires a willingness to confront the limitations imposed by civilization and to embrace the challenges that come with living authentically. It requires courage, strength, and a commitment to creating one's own values. But Nietzsche believed that this is the only path to true freedom and greatness. In conclusion, Nietzsche's critique of the opposition between nature and civilization invites us to reconsider our relationship with society and our natural instincts. He challenges us to question the values and norms that govern our lives and to embrace our primal drive for power, creativity, and authenticity, in a world that often seeks to control and suppress our instincts. Nietzsche offers a vision of freedom, one that comes from embracing our true nature and transcending the limitations imposed by civilization. By doing so, we can unlock our full potential and live lives of strength, creativity, and self-expression. Nietzsche's philosophy offers not just a critique of civilization, but a call to embrace the fullness of life itself. Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy often circles around the tension between nature and civilization, a dynamic that he believed was central to the human experience. For Nietzsche, nature was more than just the environment in which we live. It represented the raw, unfiltered force of life itself. This was not simply a matter of survival, but the manifestation of the will to power, the fundamental drive that propels all living beings to grow, evolve, and assert their existence. In contrast, civilization, especially through institutions such as religion and morality, was seen as an artificial construct that sought to control, subdue, and repress this primal force. Nietzsche viewed the development of civilization, particularly the rise of religious and moral systems, as a force that gradually stifled human potential, leading to a form of existence that was disconnected from our true nature. At the core of Nietzsche's view of nature was the idea that it was an authentic and essential expression of life itself. Nature, in its most basic form, embodies the raw energy of life, free from the constraints of societal norms and moral codes. It is not bound by the same rules and expectations that civilization imposes on individuals. Instead, nature operates through instincts, those primal urges and impulses that drive us to assert ourselves, to grow, and to seek power. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power encapsulates this idea perfectly. It is the force that motivates all living beings to assert their existence, to challenge obstacles, and to strive for something greater than themselves. In Nietzsche's view, this drive was not merely about survival, it was about the flourishing of life in all its forms. The will to power is, in many ways, the force that underpins our ability to create, to innovate, and to define our own existence. Civilization, however, works in opposition to this natural drive. Nietzsche believed that civilization, especially in its more organized forms, sought to domesticate and constrain the will to power. Where nature allows for the full expression of life's force, civilization tends to suppress it, favoring order, stability, and predictability over chaos, creativity, and individual expression. Nietzsche's critique of civilization was especially pointed when it came to religion and morality. He believed that these systems, particularly in their Christian forms, promoted values that directly conflicted with our natural instincts. Virtues such as meekness, humility, and self-sacrifice were championed by religion, not as qualities that promote the flourishing of individuals, but as ideals that suppress the individual's potential for strength, creativity, and self-assertion. Christian morality, with its emphasis on turning the other cheek and prioritizing the needs of others over oneself, represented, for Nietzsche, a kind of moral slavery. It demanded that individuals suppress their natural desires and instincts in favor of self-denial and meekness. This, in Nietzsche's view, was detrimental to human development. Instead of encouraging individuals to strive for greatness and assert their will in the world, these moral systems encouraged a kind of passive existence, focused on compliance rather than creativity or strength. Nietzsche saw this as a form of repression that led to what he described as the slave morality of modern civilization. In a world that revered meekness over strength, conformity over individuality, and submission over assertion, Nietzsche saw the natural will to power as being subjugated to the will of external forces. The effects of this repression, Nietzsche argued, were evident in the way societies functioned. In modern culture, conformity was often rewarded over individuality. In many aspects of life, especially within structured institutions like workplaces and schools, those who adhered to established rules and norms were praised, while those who challenged authority or thought outside the box were seen as disruptive or even dangerous. Nietzsche would argue that this conformity was not just a minor social inconvenience, it was a direct threat to human potential. By rewarding conformity and compliance, civilization systematically weakened the natural forces that could lead to personal growth and creative expression. Rather than cultivating strength, originality, and self-assertion, society fostered a culture of passivity, where individuals were discouraged from asserting their true will and instead were encouraged to fit into predefined molds. Take, for example, the modern workplace. In many corporate environments, employees are expected to follow a strict set of guidelines and protocols. Creativity and independent thinking are often discouraged in favor of efficiency and productivity. Those who follow the rules and meet expectations are rewarded with promotions and recognition, while those who push boundaries or challenge the status quo may be seen as troublemakers. In Nietzsche's terms, this is a classic example of a society that rewards compliance over individual strength. Instead of encouraging employees to tap into their natural creative instincts and assert their will, civilization promotes conformity, keeping individuals trapped within a system that prioritizes the collective good over personal flourishing. This dynamic is similarly evident in the educational system. Schools, with their rigid schedules, standardized testing, and emphasis on conformity, often discourage students from exploring their own interests or developing independent thought. Students are often praised for memorizing facts and following instructions, rather than for thinking critically or creatively. Nietzsche would argue that this system is designed to suppress the will to power in favor of social conformity. Students are not encouraged to assert their own unique perspectives or challenge established ideas. Instead, they are conditioned to fit into a mold that benefits the larger society. In this way, civilization forces individuals to repress their natural instincts in order to conform to societal expectations. Of course, it's important to note that Nietzsche did not reject civilization entirely. He understood that civilization was necessary for the development of society and culture. But he believed that its current form, particularly the moral and religious systems that it upheld, had become corrupt. Civilization, as it existed in Nietzsche's time, was a system that favored mediocrity over greatness, conformity over individuality, and repression over self-expression. Nietzsche's goal was not to destroy civilization, but to challenge the systems that stifled human potential and to call for a revaluation of values, one that would embrace the full expression of life's creative force, including the primal instincts that had been suppressed for so long. In this way, Nietzsche's critique of civilization is not merely an abstract philosophical argument, it is a call to action. He urged individuals to reject the values imposed by society and to embrace their natural instincts. This was not a call for anarchy or chaos, but rather for the reclamation of the will to power, the drive to grow, assert, and evolve so that individuals could live more authentically and creatively. Nietzsche's ideal was a society in which individuals were free to express their true selves, without being hindered by the artificial constraints of morality and religion. In conclusion, Nietzsche's critique of civilization's repression of natural instincts is a powerful reminder of the importance of individuality, creativity, and self-assertion. He believed that civilization, in its current form, stifled the will to power, preventing individuals from reaching their full potential. By challenging societal norms and rejecting the moral codes that encourage conformity and meekness, Nietzsche sought to free individuals from the constraints of civilization, allowing them to live more fully and authentically. The struggle between nature and civilization, for Nietzsche, is not just a theoretical or abstract issue, it is the central issue of human existence. It is only by reclaiming our natural instincts and embracing our true will that we can achieve the greatness that lies within us. Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy is often recognized for its sharp critique of the moral codes and social norms that define modern civilization. One of the central themes in Nietzsche's work is the tension between our natural instincts and the demands of society. For Nietzsche, civilization's moral and ethical frameworks represent a kind of repression, a suppression of the innate drive that compels us to assert ourselves, pursue our desires, and create our own meaning. This conflict between our instincts and societal norms, according to Nietzsche, is not just a philosophical abstraction, it is a matter of life and death for the individual. Nietzsche believed that the imposition of social norms, particularly moral codes that value selflessness, humility, and conformity, undermines the very essence of what it means to be human. These moral codes often act as tools for controlling individuals, constraining their potential, and stifling their ability to express themselves fully. In this sense, Nietzsche viewed civilization's moral systems as not just detrimental to the individual's freedom, but as actively dangerous to personal growth and the pursuit of greatness. By pushing individuals to suppress their natural instincts in favor of societal approval, these codes prevent the full flowering of the individual's unique potential. In Nietzsche's view, nature itself, the raw, untamed essence of life, is a vital force that drives us toward growth, creativity, and self-expression. He did not see nature as something to be feared or controlled, but as a source of energy that we should embrace. However, when society imposes moral codes that emphasize obedience, meekness, and self-sacrifice, it forces individuals to suppress these natural instincts in favor of conformity. Nietzsche believed that this suppression of the will to power the instinctual drive for growth, achievement, and self-assertion leads to a weakening of the individual, rather than embracing life with all its chaos, passion, and creativity. Individuals who suppress their instincts in favor of social approval are left living a life of quiet resignation. This tension between the natural self and the moral expectations of society is something that Nietzsche saw as a fundamental conflict in human existence. Society demands that we subdue our desires, our passions, and our instincts in favor of socially accepted behaviors. We are taught that virtues such as modesty, humility, and self-sacrifice are superior to the traits of strength, ambition, and assertiveness. These values are not only morally encouraged, they are often institutionalized in religious, political, and social systems that place immense pressure on individuals to conform. Nietzsche believed that these moral codes create a kind of moral cage, within which individuals must live out their lives, often without ever realizing their full potential. In his writings, Nietzsche argues that this repression leads to the fall of the individual. The individual, instead of growing stronger and more autonomous through the pursuit of their desires, becomes weak and dependent on the approval of others. In a society that elevates selflessness and humility above strength and independence, Nietzsche believed that the individual becomes increasingly disconnected from their authentic self, and instead becomes a mere cog in the societal machine. This process, according to Nietzsche, is not just a minor issue but the root cause of mediocrity and stagnation in modern civilization. One of the most significant aspects of this repression, for Nietzsche, is the effect it has on creativity and personal expression. When individuals are told that their desires and instincts are wrong or immoral, they are less likely to express themselves freely or pursue their passions. The very act of creating, whether it is in the form of art, science, or personal growth, requires the courage to break away from the status quo and challenge societal norms. However, when individuals are conditioned to suppress their instincts and desire for self-assertion, they are much less likely to pursue these creative endeavors. Instead of seeing the world as a canvas for personal expression, individuals come to view life as something to be endured or survived, constrained by external expectations and moral judgments. Take the example of someone like Albert Einstein, one of the most famous figures who exemplified Nietzsche's ideal of the individual who breaks free from the constraints of societal expectations. Einstein, in his time, was seen as eccentric and unconventional. He defied traditional academic and societal norms in order to pursue his own intellectual curiosity and, in doing so, transformed our understanding of the universe. Had Einstein been more concerned with fitting into the molds imposed by society, had he prioritized societal approval over personal exploration, he may never have questioned the very nature of space and time. Nietzsche would celebrate Einstein as a perfect example of an individual who embraced his natural curiosity, ignored the limitations imposed by social expectations, and created a new reality. Einstein's theory of relativity, which revolutionized physics, was born not from a desire to conform to the established norms of academia or society, but from his personal drive to understand the mysteries of the universe. His work was a direct challenge to the status quo and a testament to the power of the individual to break free from conventional thinking. Nietzsche would argue that Einstein's success was not just the result of intellectual brilliance, but the product of an individual who refused to suppress his natural curiosity and instincts. Einstein, in this sense, was able to tap into the very core of human potential, the will to power, and create something truly transformative because he was willing to defy the expectations of society and trust his own instincts. This example is not isolated. Many of the most significant figures in history, whether in the realms of art, science, or politics, have been those who challenged the prevailing norms of their time and embraced their natural instincts. From artists like Pablo Picasso, who rejected traditional artistic conventions to forge new forms of expression, to revolutionary thinkers like Martin Luther King Jr., who challenged the norms of segregation and injustice. History is full of examples of individuals who broke free from the constraints of societal norms to make lasting changes. However, the problem Nietzsche identifies in modern society is that most people do not have the courage to break free from these constraints. Instead, they conform to societal expectations because doing so feels safer and more secure. The pressure to conform is powerful, and it is reinforced by every institution from education to religion to the workplace. Nietzsche believed that this conformity leads to a life that is empty of true meaning and self-expression. In a society that values obedience over creativity and self-assertion, individuals are forced into roles that prevent them from realizing their full potential. As a result, many individuals live lives that are characterized by a sense of quiet desperation, disconnected from their true desires and instincts. The suppression of natural instincts in favor of social approval creates a kind of existential tension. Individuals who suppress their desires often feel a sense of emptiness or dissatisfaction, even if they are outwardly successful by societal standards. This dissatisfaction arises from the fact that they are not living authentically, they are not acting in accordance with their true selves. Nietzsche saw this as a profound tragedy, as individuals who fail to assert their instincts and desires become disconnected from the very source of their creativity and power. Nietzsche's solution to this problem was radical. He called for a revaluation of values, one that would encourage individuals to embrace their natural instincts and desires rather than suppress them. For Nietzsche, true freedom and creativity come from within by embracing one's natural will to power. An individual can transcend the limitations of societal expectations and create a life that is truly their own, rather than conforming to the norms of society. Nietzsche advocated for the creation of new values that are not based on self-sacrifice and conformity, but on strength, independence, and self-assertion. Ultimately, the danger of suppressing nature is that it weakens the individual and stifles their ability to grow, create, and live authentically. When individuals are told to suppress their instincts and desires in favor of societal approval, they are not only denying themselves the opportunity for personal growth, but they are also contributing to a culture of mediocrity. By embracing the will to power, however, individuals can break free from the constraints of societal norms and create a life that is truly their own. This is the essence of Nietzsche's call to action: to reject the repressive forces of civilization and live in accordance with our natural instincts and desires. For it is only in doing so that we can truly realize our potential and achieve greatness. Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy is grounded in the radical concept of the will to power, the intrinsic drive to overcome obstacles, grow stronger, and assert oneself in the world. This force is a fundamental part of human nature, and Nietzsche argued that it is through the expression of our instincts and desires that we can truly achieve freedom and strength. For Nietzsche, nature represents the raw, untamed power of life, unmediated by the constraints of social norms and moral systems. In nature, creatures assert their strength without hesitation, relying on their instincts to navigate the world and thrive. This is a stark contrast to civilization, which often imposes restrictions and encourages individuals to question their impulses, desires, and true selves. Nietzsche's will to power is not merely about domination or control over others, but about self-mastery and the overcoming of personal limitations. It is a process of continual growth, a force that drives individuals to evolve, to become more than what they were before. Nietzsche viewed this drive as essential to human life, and he believed that it was through the expression of this natural will that individuals could live most authentically. When people suppress their natural instincts in favor of conformity, they stifle the will to power and, by extension, their own growth. In contrast, when they embrace their instincts, they open themselves up to the full range of human potential: creativity, passion, strength, and the ability to shape their own destiny. The suppression of natural instincts is one of the primary critiques that Nietzsche levels against modern civilization. In societies that prioritize conformity, There is an ongoing tension between what we instinctively desire and what we are told we should desire. Civilization places tremendous pressure on individuals to suppress their true impulses in favor of social acceptability. Religious and moral systems, in particular, enforce values that contradict our natural desires. For example, Christianity's emphasis on humility, meekness, and self-sacrifice directly opposes the will to power, as it teaches individuals to subdue their desires and prioritize the needs of others over their own. Nietzsche believed that this created a culture of weakness, where individuals were conditioned to accept mediocrity and self-denial instead of striving for greatness. However, Nietzsche's solution to this problem was not to reject society altogether, but rather to advocate for the embracing of one's natural instincts. In his view, true freedom arises not from rejecting all social norms, but from transcending the limitations they impose. By accepting and acting on our natural impulses, we unlock the potential for self-creation and personal empowerment. Nietzsche argued that living authentically requires courage, the courage to face the truth of who we are, with all our flaws and desires, and to act on those truths without fear of judgment. In modern society, this often means going against the grain of societal pressures. For instance, people are frequently forced to suppress their true desires and passions in favor of the practical path, whether it's choosing a career based on financial stability instead of personal passion or adopting socially acceptable opinions rather than expressing what they truly believe. Nietzsche would argue that this stifles the will to power, and thus weakens the individual. The essence of freedom, according to Nietzsche, lies in the ability to live according to one's own instincts, without the constant need for external validation. An example of this in modern life can be seen in the pressure that individuals feel when they choose careers. In many cultures, people are often pushed into careers that they believe will bring them financial security or societal approval, rather than pursuing careers that align with their passions or interests. Take the case of a person who becomes a lawyer or doctor because of the prestige and stability these professions offer, even though their true passion lies in the arts or in a creative field. Nietzsche would argue that by following societal expectations, this individual is suppressing their will to power. They are not acting in accordance with their true desires and, as a result, are denying themselves the opportunity to live authentically. The suppression of natural instincts in favor of external validation, in Nietzsche's eyes, represents a denial of freedom and strength. Similarly, individuals often suppress their true opinions and beliefs to fit in with their social circles. This is especially true in a world where social media plays such a prominent role in shaping our identities. The pressure to conform to popular opinions, to agree with the mainstream narrative, is immense. People often censor themselves, not because they lack strong beliefs, but because they fear rejection or judgment from others. Nietzsche would see this as a profound weakening of the individual, an act of self-suppression that denies the person their true strength and potential. True freedom, according to Nietzsche, lies in the courage to express one's authentic self, regardless of societal expectations or social pressures. When people choose to live in this way, embracing their instincts and desires, they are not only asserting their individuality but are also aligning themselves with their natural will to power. Consider, for example, the life of an artist or a writer who creates from their core, driven by an internal passion, rather than a desire for external approval or recognition. These individuals are often seen as rebels, defying societal norms by creating works that challenge the status quo or express personal truths that may be unpopular or controversial. Take, for instance, someone like James Baldwin, the famous American writer and activist. Baldwin's works were deeply personal and unapologetically critical of the societal norms of his time, particularly around issues of race, sexuality, and identity. By writing from his own experiences and beliefs, Baldwin embraced his own natural instincts, refusing to conform to the expectations of society. Nietzsche would celebrate Baldwin's courage and strength in living authentically, and he would argue that it was precisely this embrace of one's inner desires and truths that made Baldwin's work so powerful and transformative. In the realm of physical strength, Nietzsche's philosophy is equally relevant. Athletes, particularly those who push the boundaries of their physical potential, embody the concept of the will to power. Consider the example of elite athletes who continuously break records and push the limits of what the human body can achieve. These athletes are not merely conforming to societal expectations, they are challenging the boundaries of what is possible. Driven by an intrinsic desire to grow stronger and more capable. Whether it's a sprinter like Usain Bolt, whose explosive speed defied expectations, or a weightlifter like Eddie Hall, who shattered the deadlift world record, these individuals live out Nietzsche's philosophy through the embodiment of their natural strength and willpower. They do not suppress their instincts, instead, they channel their natural abilities to achieve greatness. At the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy is the idea that true freedom and strength come from within. When we embrace our natural instincts, we allow ourselves to be fully alive, able to face challenges, overcome obstacles, and express ourselves in ways that are uniquely our own. Nietzsche was not advocating for the rejection of civilization or society, but rather for a revaluation of the values that society upholds. He believed that the cultivation of inner strength, the embrace of natural desires, and the expression of our will to power were key to living a meaningful and authentic life. By accepting our true nature and acting upon it, we unlock the potential to live fully, to grow beyond what we once thought possible, and to shape our own destiny. In sum, Nietzsche's idea of will to power and its connection to our natural instincts is a call to action to reject the repressive forces of civilization that try to keep us in check, and to embrace the raw power that lies within each of us. Whether in our careers, relationships, or creative pursuits, the more we act in alignment with our true desires, the more we unleash our potential for greatness. True freedom, for Nietzsche, comes not from submission to external expectations but from the courage to act in accordance with our inner truth. Through this process of embracing our natural instincts and desires, we not only find strength, but we also become the architects of our own lives. Friedrich Nietzsche's ideas about art, nature, and civilization are deeply interwoven, reflecting his belief in the tension between the natural instincts of humanity and the structures imposed by society. Nietzsche viewed art as one of the few domains where individuals could truly express their natural instincts without the stifling limitations imposed by civilization. Art, for Nietzsche, was not just a form of aesthetic expression but a powerful force that allowed individuals to confront and release their deepest desires, emotions, and instincts that civilization often tries to repress. In a world where moral systems, religious beliefs, and societal expectations demand conformity, art provides a means for the individual to transcend those constraints and access the chaotic, untamed force of nature within. In many ways, Nietzsche saw art as a bridge between the raw, unrefined forces of nature and the often restrictive structures of civilization. Civilization, with its emphasis on order, control, and moral righteousness, tends to suppress the primal urges that are central to our being. These urges, the drive for power, creativity, and individual expression, are often considered dangerous, wild, and untamable. However, Nietzsche believed that the repression of these instincts could have damaging effects on the individual's ability to live authentically. Art, in contrast, provides an outlet through which these primal energies can be expressed and celebrated. Whether through painting, sculpture, music, or literature, art offers a way to confront the chaos of life and turn it into something meaningful, powerful, and beautiful. The relationship between art and nature in Nietzsche's philosophy is crucial to understanding how he viewed the role of the artist in society. Nature, for Nietzsche, represents the chaotic and untamed aspects of life, the forces that cannot be easily controlled or suppressed. Just as nature is full of unpredictable forces, from the violent storms to the chaotic randomness of evolution, art can mirror this raw energy by breaking free from the constraints of order and structure. Through art, we tap into something deeply authentic and primal, an expression of life's inherent creativity and vitality. In this way, art does not merely reflect reality, it reconfigures it, allowing us to transcend the limitations imposed by our rational minds and embrace the rawness of human experience. For Nietzsche, the role of the artist was not merely to depict the world as it is but to challenge the status quo and create new possibilities for understanding and experiencing life. Artists, in Nietzsche's view, are the individuals who are most in touch with their instincts and desires. They are able to see the world with fresh eyes, to break free from the conventions of society, and to create something new that speaks to the deepest parts of the human soul. In a world that constantly seeks to tame and control the natural world, Artists are the ones who are able to access and express the chaos that lies at the heart of existence. They are the ones who are not afraid to confront the discomfort, confusion, and intensity that comes with being alive. One of the clearest examples of an artist who embodied Nietzsche's ideal is Pablo Picasso. Picasso's work, throughout his career, consistently defied traditional artistic norms and embraced a kind of chaotic energy that challenged the established conventions of art. His Cubist works, for instance, shattered the conventional understanding of perspective, geometry, and form. Instead of presenting the world in a realistic or ordered way, Picasso presented it in fragmented, distorted pieces reflecting the complexity and chaos of the natural world. Picasso's art was not simply about creating beauty, it was about capturing the essence of life itself. With all of its disorder, unpredictability, and raw power. For Nietzsche, Picasso's ability to break free from societal conventions and embrace the chaos of nature was a demonstration of the strength and freedom that comes from living authentically. Picasso did not adhere to the rules of traditional art. He did not create to please others or to conform to societal expectations. Instead, he created from a place of personal power and intuition, channeling his inner instincts into works of art that were truly revolutionary. By doing so, Picasso transcended the limitations of civilization and found a way to express his true self through his art. This idea of art as an expression of raw, untamed power is crucial to understanding Nietzsche's philosophy of creativity. For Nietzsche, creativity is not about following rules or imitating what others have done. It is about transcending the norms of civilization and tapping into the primal forces that drive us to create. Just as nature is full of raw, unfiltered energy, art provides a way for individuals to release that energy into the world. Nietzsche believed that the highest form of artistic expression was one that embraced this raw energy. Rather than trying to tame or control it, art, in this sense, becomes a kind of catharsis, a way to confront the chaos of life and transform it into something beautiful, meaningful, and personal. This relationship between art, nature, and civilization can also be seen in the works of other great artists who broke free from the constraints of their time. For example, the music of Ludwig van Beethoven, which was revolutionary for its time, reflects Nietzsche's ideas about the power of art to transcend social norms. Beethoven's compositions, especially his later works, are full of intense emotional depth, complexity, and a sense of individual struggle. The music is not just about beauty in a traditional sense but about the expression of raw, untamed emotion, about confronting the inner chaos of the human soul and expressing it through sound. Beethoven's work was not just a reflection of the world, it was an act of creation, a way to impose order on chaos and give voice to the deepest, most powerful aspects of human experience. In the realm of literature, Nietzsche himself was deeply influenced by the works of writers like Goethe and Dostoevsky, whose characters often grapple with intense inner conflicts and confront the chaos of existence. For Nietzsche, these authors understood the importance of embracing the chaos of life and finding a way to channel it into creative expression. Just as Picasso used fragmented forms to capture the chaos of the world, these writers used language to explore the complexity of the human condition. Nietzsche admired these authors not because they adhered to conventional moral codes or societal expectations, but because they were able to dive deep into the human soul and express the rawness of life itself. Ultimately, Nietzsche's philosophy of art is not about creating beauty for its own sake but about the power of art to break through the boundaries imposed by civilization and express the full range of human potential. Art allows us to confront the chaos of life, to give voice to our deepest instincts and desires, and to assert our true selves in a world that often seeks to suppress them. Through art, we can transcend the limitations of society and civilization, tapping into the raw, untamed energy of nature that lies within us all. Whether through visual art, music, literature, or any other form of creative expression, Nietzsche believed that art provided a means for individuals to connect with their truest, most powerful selves and to create something that was truly their own. Picasso, like many great artists, exemplified the strength and freedom that come from embracing the chaos of life and the rawness of nature. His work, through its break with tradition and its embrace of new forms and perspectives, captured the essence of Nietzsche's vision for creativity. For Nietzsche, Picasso represented the artist's potential to break free from societal constraints, to channel the wild energy of the natural world, and to create works that reflected the deepest, most powerful parts of the human soul. This is the role of art in Nietzsche's philosophy, to transcend the limitations of civilization and tap into the creative forces that reside in all of us. In doing so, art allows us to confront the chaos of existence and, in the process, to create something truly beautiful, meaningful, and powerful. Friedrich Nietzsche's critique of civilization centers around his belief that modern society is pushing humanity toward mediocrity and complacency. His philosophy presents a compelling argument about how civilization, in its attempt to create a sense of order and equality, inadvertently fosters a culture of passivity, where the capacity for individual greatness is stifled. Nietzsche saw the development of civilization, particularly in its modern form, as a process that not only restricts personal growth but also diminishes the vitality of human spirit. He argued that by imposing uniformity, encouraging conformity, and prioritizing self-sacrifice over personal achievement, society was creating a world where mediocrity flourishes, and exceptional individuals are suppressed. Nietzsche's concern with civilization's role in human weakness comes from his observation that modern society, with its moral codes and social expectations, tends to promote a life of comfort and predictability rather than one of struggle, growth, and self-overcoming. His criticism of civilization is rooted in the idea that it has gradually led to a detachment from the natural instincts and the will to power, the force that drives individuals to grow, assert themselves, and strive for greatness. Instead of fostering a society where individuals are encouraged to express their unique potential and challenge the status quo, civilization has nurtured a culture of complacency, where the pursuit of individual greatness is often seen as unnecessary or even undesirable. At the heart of Nietzsche's critique is the concept of herd mentality. He feared that the norms, values, and expectations of modern society were encouraging individuals to conform to a collective identity rather than pursue their own personal path. The herd mentality is a phenomenon where individuals surrender their own judgment, desires, and ambitions in favor of social acceptance and the safety of groupthink. In Nietzsche's view, this process undermines human autonomy, leading to a society where people stop thinking for themselves and begin to accept societal norms without questioning them. The herd mentality, fueled by the moral codes of civilization, makes it easier for individuals to avoid confrontation with themselves and their potential for greatness. It becomes safer to simply follow the crowd than to risk standing out or challenging the system. The rise of mediocrity, according to Nietzsche, is the inevitable consequence of a society that prioritizes equality and self-sacrifice over personal excellence and individual achievement. The moral and social pressures of modern civilization, with their emphasis on equality, selflessness, and the collective good, create a world where average success is normalized and celebrated. In such a world, exceptional individuals, those who have the capacity to think differently, to challenge the status quo, and to break through the conventional boundaries of thought and action, are often sidelined or dismissed as disruptive or dangerous. Nietzsche believed that this was a direct result of the way civilization had structured its values. In his view, the ideal of equality, while appearing noble on the surface, was actually damaging to the development of exceptional individuals, by encouraging the idea that all people are equal in worth and value. Civilization promotes a form of mediocrity where individual strengths and differences are not only devalued but actively discouraged. When everyone is treated as equal, there is little room for the cultivation of excellence, innovation, or greatness. Exceptional individuals, who by definition stand apart from the crowd, are left to navigate a world that does not value their uniqueness. Instead of being celebrated for their achievements or their ability to push the boundaries of human experience, these individuals are often marginalized or pushed into the background. The tension between mediocrity and greatness is stark in Nietzsche's philosophy. He believed that greatness comes not from conforming to the expectations of society but from transcending those expectations and forging a new path. Greatness, for Nietzsche, is about the capacity to overcome challenges, to break through personal and societal limitations, and to express one's unique will to power. The mediocre life, on the other hand, is one of comfort, predictability, and adherence to societal norms. The pursuit of mediocrity leads to a life of stagnation, one where the individual's true potential is never realized. And the world is never challenged to evolve. In the context of modern society, we can see Nietzsche's critique play out in the phenomenon of average success. Many people today live relatively comfortable, predictable lives. They follow the prescribed paths of education, work, and family, often without questioning whether these paths align with their true desires or potential. Success, in this context, is often defined by material security, social approval, and adherence to societal norms rather than by personal growth, creativity, or the pursuit of greatness. Nietzsche would argue that this form of success is a form of self-imposed mediocrity. It is not necessarily a bad life, but it is one that is not truly lived to its fullest potential. People in such a system may find themselves trapped in a cycle of predictability and convention, unable to break free and realize their deepest desires or passions. Consider the modern corporate world as an example. Many people work in jobs that, while providing financial stability, offer little in the way of personal fulfillment or creative expression. These individuals may be highly skilled and talented, but they often find themselves constrained by the rigid structures of corporate life, which prioritize conformity and productivity over individuality and innovation. The pressure to fit into established roles, to follow orders, and to adhere to hierarchical structures stifles the kind of personal expression and risk-taking that Nietzsche believed was necessary for greatness. In such a society, the very traits that could propel individuals toward excellence, traits like boldness, creativity, and independence, are often suppressed in favor of maintaining the status quo. A similar pattern emerges in the realm of education, where students are often encouraged to follow a prescribed path and to excel according to standardized metrics. The emphasis is often on getting the best grades, entering prestigious universities, and securing stable, well-paying jobs. While these goals are by no means inherently wrong, they reflect a broader societal push toward uniformity. Students who think outside the box or who want to pursue unconventional careers, whether in the arts, entrepreneurship, or other non-traditional fields, are often viewed with skepticism or concern. The system rewards conformity and penalizes risk-taking, which can prevent individuals from exploring their true potential or pursuing their passions. For Nietzsche, this is an example of how civilization, in its quest for order and predictability, has cultivated a culture of mediocrity. Another example of the decline of civilization and its effects can be found in the rise of social media and the culture of comparison that it has created. In a world dominated by curated online personas, individuals are increasingly encouraged to present themselves in ways that conform to societal expectations and trends. Success on platforms like Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter is often defined by the number of followers, likes, and shares one receives, rather than by the authenticity of one's content or the depth of one's ideas. This creates a kind of feedback loop where people begin to value external validation more than personal fulfillment or true self-expression. The pressure to conform to the ideals of the digital age can lead individuals to suppress their authentic selves in order to fit into the mold of what is popular or acceptable. In Nietzsche's terms, this is the triumph of the herd mentality, the elevation of mediocrity over greatness. Nietzsche's vision for the future was one in which individuals would break free from the constraints of civilization and embrace their unique potential. Rather than succumbing to the pressure to conform, Nietzsche believed that people should strive to cultivate their personal strengths, challenge societal norms, and create their own values. In a world that often rewards mediocrity, Nietzsche called for the return of exceptional individuals, those who could push boundaries, defy expectations, and inspire others to do the same. These individuals, in Nietzsche's eyes, were the ones who would lead humanity toward new heights, not by conforming to societal norms, but by transcending them. In conclusion, Nietzsche's critique of the decline of civilization highlights the dangers of a society that prioritizes equality and self-sacrifice over individuality and personal greatness. By fostering a culture of mediocrity, civilization stifles the potential for greatness, leaving individuals to live comfortable but unremarkable lives. Nietzsche's call for the embrace of personal strength, individuality, and the rejection of herd mentality is as relevant today as it was in his time. In a world where conformity is often rewarded and individuality is overlooked, Nietzsche's philosophy offers a powerful reminder that true greatness comes from challenging societal norms and striving to realize one's unique potential. In Nietzsche's philosophy, the concept of the Übermensch, or Overman, stands as the ultimate ideal for humanity, a figure who transcends the limitations imposed by both civilization and nature. The Übermensch is not someone who conforms to the moral codes of society or adheres to the laws of nature, rather. It is an individual who, through self-overcoming, creates their own values and defines their own existence. This concept is one of Nietzsche's most powerful and provocative ideas, representing the pinnacle of human potential and a rejection of the dualities that have traditionally constrained human life, such as the conflict between nature and civilization. At the heart of Nietzsche's vision of the Übermensch is the idea that true freedom and flourishing come not from following predetermined paths or adhering to the expectations of society, but from creating one's own destiny. The Übermensch is not a mere rejection of the moral, religious, or cultural norms of society. It is an embrace of personal autonomy, an assertion of individuality, and the courage to live according to one's instincts, desires, and values, in a world where individuals are often bound by the limits of inherited beliefs, rules, and traditions. The Übermensch breaks free from these constraints and creates a life of their own, making one that is authentic, powerful, and self-determined. Nietzsche's Übermensch represents a figure who has gone beyond the conventional opposition between nature and civilization. Rather than viewing nature and civilization as opposing forces, the Übermensch uses the insights from both realms to forge a new existence. In Nietzsche's view, civilization, with its moral codes and social expectations, has often repressed the natural instincts and desires of human beings, leading to a world where mediocrity, conformity, and weakness prevail. Nature, while representing the raw and untamed instincts that lie at the core of the human experience, is also something that can restrict individual development. The Übermensch is someone who has transcended these limitations and created a new path forward, one that blends the forces of both nature and civilization but refuses to be constrained by either. The path of the Übermensch is one of constant self-overcoming, a journey in which the individual continuously challenges their own limitations and moves beyond the moral and existential frameworks that define their world. Nietzsche believed that this process of self-creation was essential for individuals to achieve true greatness and fulfillment. To be an Übermensch is not to reject society or nature entirely, but to transcend the old ways of thinking and create a new, more powerful existence based on one's own unique will and vision. The Übermensch is someone who doesn't simply conform to societal expectations or live according to the dictates of nature. Instead, they rise above both, using the raw materials of existence to forge a new, individualistic life. In many ways, the Übermensch can be seen as an ideal of personal empowerment, rather than waiting for meaning or value to be handed down from external sources, whether from religion, politics, or social structures. The Übermensch creates their own meaning, and this process of self-creation is what Nietzsche saw as the essence of freedom. To live authentically, according to Nietzsche, is to embrace the fullness of one's desires, instincts, and individuality, unencumbered by societal conventions or the expectations of others. The Übermensch embodies this ideal by not only rejecting external authority but also by asserting their own inner authority, defining their own values, and living in accordance with their own vision of the world. In practical terms, the Übermensch is not a figure that can be easily understood or imitated. It is not about following a set of rules or adopting a particular lifestyle. It is about the courage to live authentically and create something new out of the raw materials of one's existence. The Übermensch is not merely a person who excels in traditional or socially accepted ways. Rather, it is someone who redefines excellence and greatness according to their own terms. This is where the concept of freedom through self-creation comes into play. For Nietzsche, true freedom is not found in the absence of constraints or in the ability to do whatever one pleases, but in the power to create a life that is uniquely one's own, one that reflects personal values, desires, and aspirations. A clear example of an individual who embodies the spirit of the Übermensch is Steve Jobs. Jobs, the co-founder of Apple Inc., did not simply fit into the world as it was. He created a new world, one that reshaped the entire technology industry and, by extension, much of modern society. Jobs didn't accept the established norms of business or technology, he revolutionized them. Through his vision, creativity, and refusal to conform to industry standards, Jobs transformed the way people interact with technology, design, and even communication. Jobs' life was a continuous process of self-creation, where he constantly challenged existing ideas and systems in order to bring his own vision to life. Much like Nietzsche's Übermensch, Jobs was not constrained by societal expectations or traditional ideas of success. He did not pursue a conventional career path or follow the steps that many others took in the business world. Instead, Jobs forged his own way. Driven by his personal instincts, values, and creative vision, he saw the world not as it was, but as it could be. And he had the courage to act on that vision, even in the face of enormous challenges. In doing so, he didn't just innovate technology, he rewrote the rules of business and culture, demonstrating the kind of transformative power that Nietzsche saw as the hallmark of the Übermensch. Furthermore, Jobs' rejection of traditional ways of thinking and his willingness to break free from conventional industry practices are exactly the kinds of actions that Nietzsche believed were necessary for the individual to live authentically. Jobs wasn't just interested in making money or creating products. He was interested in creating something that would leave a lasting impact on the world. In this way, his life embodied the essence of the Ubermensch, an individual who transcends both the limitations of nature and civilization to create a powerful, meaningful existence. The idea of the Ubermensch also has broader implications for society as a whole. Nietzsche did not see the Ubermensch as an isolated ideal but as a model for how humanity could evolve and transcend the mediocrity that often defines modern life. If more individuals embraced the spirit of the Ubermensch, if more people were willing to challenge societal norms, create their own values, and live authentically, then Nietzsche believed that society itself would be transformed. Rather than living in a world dominated by herd mentality and conformity, society would be populated by individuals who are driven by their own will to power, each contributing to the collective evolution of human potential. Nietzsche's vision of the Ubermensch was not about the creation of a perfect world or the elimination of struggle. In fact, for Nietzsche, struggle was an essential part of the process of self-overcoming. The Ubermensch is not a passive or complacent figure. They are actively engaged in the process of becoming, constantly pushing against the boundaries of their own existence and striving to create new values and new forms of life. This struggle is what gives life its meaning. And it is through this struggle that the individual finds freedom and strength. In many ways, the concept of the Ubermensch is a call to action, a challenge to each of us to transcend the limitations that society, culture, and even nature place on us. It is an invitation to live authentically, to embrace our instincts and desires, and to create a life that is uniquely our own. By doing so, we not only realize our own potential but also contribute to the ongoing evolution of humanity, pushing the boundaries of what is possible and creating a new world in the process. Nietzsche's vision of the Ubermensch is, at its core, a vision of human empowerment, a call for individuals to break free from the constraints of both nature and civilization, to create their own values, and to live authentically and powerfully. Whether it is through a revolutionary thinker like Steve Jobs or through individuals in all walks of life who choose to live according to their own truth, the Ubermensch represents the highest potential of humanity, an ideal that calls us to transcend mediocrity, to embrace our true selves, and to live a life of purpose and meaning. Friedrich Nietzsche's exploration of the relationship between nature and civilization presents an important reflection on how the balance or imbalance between these two forces can shape the individual's experience and potential. Nietzsche did not completely reject civilization or the advancements that society has made over centuries. Rather, he critically examined the ways in which civilization, particularly in its modern form, stifles the individual's natural instincts and creative potential. For Nietzsche, civilization represented both a progress and a threat, progress in the sense of creating order, structure, and social cohesion, but a threat in the sense of potentially overwhelming and suppressing the more primal, life-affirming instincts that he believed were necessary for true human flourishing. Nietzsche's concern was not that civilization itself was inherently bad or that societal structures were entirely oppressive. Instead, his concern was that, as civilization developed, it often imposed systems of thought, moral codes, and values that worked against the natural instincts of individuals. The result, according to Nietzsche, was a society that pushed conformity, meekness, and self-sacrifice while suppressing personal strength, creativity, and individuality. Civilization structures, especially those rooted in religion, law, and traditional morality, often became mechanisms of control, limiting human potential by promoting values that were, in his view, life-denying rather than life-affirming. The balance between nature and civilization, for Nietzsche, was crucial. He believed that when civilization dominated to the point of overpowering nature, individuals would lose their authenticity and the ability to fully express themselves. Civilization, in this context, becomes a kind of cage, locking people into predefined roles and societal expectations, causing them to disconnect from their own instincts and desires. This imbalance could lead to what Nietzsche described as a form of spiritual death, a loss of individuality and vitality, where people live lives that are safe, predictable, and conformist but devoid of the power, creativity, and authenticity that come from embracing one's natural instincts. However, Nietzsche did not propose a rejection of civilization altogether. Instead, he argued that humanity needed to find a way to reclaim its connection with nature, to embrace the raw and powerful forces of life that civilization often suppresses, while still participating in and benefiting from the advancements that civilization has made. Nietzsche believed that true freedom comes not from completely rejecting society or the structures it has built, but from transcending them, using them as tools to create a more powerful, authentic existence. The individual should live in the world, engage with it, and participate in it, but not be controlled by it. By finding a balance between the order of civilization and the chaotic, instinctual forces of nature, the individual could live in a way that is both self-affirming and creatively powerful. In the context of the modern world, the lessons of Nietzsche's philosophy remain as relevant as ever. Today, we live in a society that continues to place immense pressure on individuals to conform to societal expectations. From the demands of the workplace to the pervasive influence of social media, there are countless forces that encourage us to suppress our true desires and instincts in favor of fitting into predefined molds. We are often told that success is defined by material wealth, social approval, and conformity to the norms of society. While these societal measures of success may offer some comfort or security, they also tend to discourage individuality, creativity, and the pursuit of personal greatness. Nietzsche's philosophy challenges us to question these external standards of success and to create our own values based on what truly resonates with us as individuals. In his view, the path to freedom and strength lies not in adhering to the expectations imposed by society but in transcending them. To do this, we must reconnect with our natural instincts and desires, allowing them to guide us toward a life that is more authentic, powerful, and meaningful. Nietzsche's call to action is clear. Stop living for others. Stop measuring your worth based on external validation, and instead, create your own path by embracing who you truly are. In practical terms, applying Nietzsche's philosophy in the modern world means rejecting the notion that we must conform to the standard expectations of society. It means questioning the values we inherit and seeking out our own understanding of what is truly meaningful and important. For many people, this could mean pursuing careers that align more closely with their passions and desires, rather than choosing paths simply for financial security or social approval. It could also mean rejecting the societal pressures to fit in or to present a curated version of oneself on social media. Instead of living for likes, comments, or the approval of others, Nietzsche would encourage us to live for ourselves, embracing our unique perspectives, challenging societal norms, and creating lives that are rich with meaning and authenticity. One area where Nietzsche's philosophy can have a profound impact is in the creative industries, where individuals are often faced with the choice of following established trends or breaking free to create something new and innovative. In a world that constantly rewards conformity and the status quo, embracing Nietzsche's philosophy could lead to the emergence of artists, entrepreneurs, and thinkers who are not afraid to take risks, push boundaries, and create works that reflect their deepest truths and desires. The more individuals embrace their natural instincts and desires, the more they can contribute to the cultural and intellectual evolution of society. moving it away from the constraints of mediocrity and towards a more dynamic and diverse future. At the same time, Nietzsche's philosophy encourages us to embrace the challenges and struggles that come with living authentically. It is not always easy to break free from societal expectations and create a life that is truly your own. There will be resistance, both from the external world and from within. The pressures of conformity and the fear of standing out can be overwhelming. But Nietzsche would argue that it is precisely in facing these struggles by asserting your individuality, pushing through the discomfort, and creating your own values that you will find true freedom and power. Rather than avoiding hardship, Nietzsche's philosophy urges us to embrace it, for it is through struggle that we grow, create, and become stronger. The key takeaway from Nietzsche's philosophy, especially in the context of modern society, is that we must stop relying on external sources for validation and start creating our own paths. Whether in our careers, our relationships, or our creative endeavors, the more we can break free from the constraints of societal norms and embrace our natural instincts, the more we will live lives that are full of strength, meaning, and authenticity. Nietzsche's call is not just for personal liberation but for the liberation of humanity itself through the expression of individual will, the rejection of herd mentality, and the creation of a world that celebrates uniqueness, creativity, and self-empowerment. To live in accordance with Nietzsche's philosophy is to live a life that is true to yourself, no matter what the world expects or demands. Well, there you have it, the path to true freedom, greatness, and self-creation according to Friedrich Nietzsche. We've explored the tension between nature and civilization, and how embracing our raw instincts and transcending societal norms can lead us to live more authentic, powerful lives. Nietzsche's vision of the Übermensch isn't just some far-off ideal. It's a call to action for anyone who feels the pressure of societal conformity and is ready to break free. But here's the thing: Nietzsche didn't promise that this path would be easy. In fact, it's a path full of struggle, discomfort, and even pain. It's about constantly questioning the rules, embracing your inner instincts, and pushing through resistance to create something uniquely your own. It's about you rewriting the rules of your life and, in doing so, finding your own power, freedom, and meaning. It's about being bold enough to be your true self in a world that often pushes you to fit into predefined molds. So, what do you think? Are you ready to embrace your true will to power? To transcend the limitations of society and nature and create your own path forward? Nietzsche's philosophy is not just for philosophers, it's for anyone who is willing to challenge the status quo, live authentically, and push the boundaries of what is possible. If you found this video insightful, make sure to hit that like button and share it with others who might benefit from Nietzsche's ideas. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content that dives into deep philosophical concepts with a focus on practical, real-world applications. And for those of you who want to show extra support, consider sending a super thanks to help us continue producing thought-provoking content. Remember, living authentically is a choice. It's the choice to reject mediocrity, break free from societal constraints, and create a life that reflects who you truly are. So, take Nietzsche's challenge seriously, embrace your natural instincts, create your own values, and become the Ubermensch of your own life. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious, stay bold, and live with purpose. See you in the next video.